Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library. Super Battletank. I'm just going to assume this is an SNES game. Tanks, they're kind of cool, aren't they? They're gigantic, they run over cars, they can blow things up from a long distance away, and they just look intimidating and awesome. And with that combination, of course video games wanted to get a piece of the action. There's no feeling quite like getting your first tank in Grand Theft Auto, or tearing things up in the Scorpion in Halo, or getting paralyzed with fear when you see the controller that Steel Battalion uses. And there are plenty of games focused on tanks. Even now, World of Tanks is still a powerhouse. But there were plenty of older tank games, and even tank series, one of which is our subject today, Battletank. Battletank for the NES was also known as Gary Kitchen's Battletank, named after game designer Gary Kitchen, most famous for his port of Donkey Kong to the Atari 2600. There were only 3 Battletank games made, Battletank and Super Battletank 1 and 2, the later two obviously being for the Super Nintendo. But oddly enough, for games released around that time, only one of them, Super Battletank, got ports, showing up on the Game Boy and Sega Genesis, then 9 years later on the Game Gear as the final North American Game Gear release, and then 2 years after that for the Game Boy Advance under a new name. Wow, this game had a lot of staying power. Really speaks to the popularity of tanks, huh? And what else would the box art be than a tank doing something cool, threateningly and majestically driving away from... wait, that explosion looks really, really big. The cameramen melted after this shot, didn't they? So, how do tanks do on the Game Boy? Let's tread on Super Battletank. Super Battletank TM War in the Gulf. Let's do this. Yeah! Super Battletank War in the Gulf, featuring what does not look like a tank. That looks like a weird lopsided... Oh my god, look at those pixels. I know you'll join me in giving them your full support, sure. Alright, here's the mission. Oh, this actually is the mission. Terminate enemy tank resistance, minimize allied casualties. You got it. Oh, it's a simulator? Oh. Okay, so hold up to accelerate. Hold down to decelerate. What am I... Oh, hello. Oh, and I can move around on this map screen, too. Okay. I'm assuming I should be headed straight for this, this other tank. Hold... Oh, if you hold B, you can move the turret. We have gun, we have laser, we have smoke, and we have... There's a fourth thing. Machine gun. We also have no sound. Like, I guess they're supposed to go for just the sound of the tank treads. I don't know if you guys can even hear that. It's just a very, very delicate hum. Oh, we're here. Get your shoes on, Roulette tank. You, sir. Ooh. Combat is definitely a little awkward. Come back here, coward. Can I ram you? Oh my god. Oh, the flickering. Oh, the pixelation. Come back. How rude. Are they attacking me? Are they aware we are at war right now? Not a big fan of this combat. It's very, very you hit once and then have to reposition yourself. Oh, blew him up. Okay, where next? Let's reposition ourselves here. Unbuzz. There should be something over here. I want to use the laser on this one. Laser. Oh my god, that thing's effective. I'm not a huge fan of the combat, but gameplay-wise, it's okay. It's far, far from the worst controlling game I've ever played. Not a huge fan of the graphics, but they're not bad. It's just that I've never liked the games where half the screen is taken up by static at the bottom. And even then, the top half just isn't that exciting. It's just sort of that repeated lines thing that you'd see in, like, Space Harrier, for example. Oh, we're coming up on a whole bunch of stuff, and we're gonna shoot smoke at them. Oh, there's things. Mines! You know what? Something tells me I shouldn't have driven directly into this minefield. Okay. It seems like you move faster on this screen, and I actually really like that feature. So you can cut out a lot of the, travel. Smoke! I can't help but feel the smoke is backfired. Low on fuel. There's a fuel gauge? Maybe I shouldn't have taken that detour into the minefield. I feel like if you're into these simulator games, you'd probably really like this. As it stands, I'm not a huge fan, but I can kind of see the appeal. Oh, we did it. Mission complete. Okay, all right. Again, this isn't my kind of game, but I'm able to do things. I'll give you a brief summary of today's operation. Took out 3 heavily armored tanks. Did a superb job in executing this operation. Okay, just a reminder. Oh. Okay, this is kind of what I was fearing. Every mission of this is going to be the same, isn't it? Just with very slightly increasing enemy numbers. Yeah, it's the movement of the tanks that's just not really clicking with me. The fact that it just seems so hard to actually hit enemies. The battles are a bit of a slog. Not terrible, but enough. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I want to take this tank out, and then I want to go see what that big exciting thing up there is. It doesn't help that this tank appears to be using legitimate evasive maneuvers. Which, I mean, hey, more power to you, tank, but like, this is a video game and now I'm having troubles? There we go. Alright. Where's the cool thing? Oh, it's so small. Are you gonna fight back? It's been raptured. It's gone forever. Oh, there it is. Ugh. Yeah, a lot of this game is just slowly repositioning yourself. Why don't they just load me up with a bunch more lasers? Those did such a good job at killing tanks. I don't know. I personally am not a huge fan of this game. It's not my kind of thing. But I could totally see people who like simulator games getting into this. Especially for the Game Boy. I mean, it's kind of weird looking and kind of weird playing. But for the Game Boy, it's pretty impressive. So yeah, I guess if you're into tank simulators, go for it. Try this one. I'm sure the Super Nintendo version's even better, but, well, I hope anyway. But, yeah, Super Battletank? Wouldn't go as far as to say it's super, but you know what? It's pretty good. I don't know, though. I just don't think pretty good Battletank would sell very well. So, tanks then. I was actually surprised to learn this game went in more of a simulation direction, as I could have sworn I had seen it being more over-the-top arcade action in the past. Granted, I may be confusing it with some other game, but either way, this game was a simulator through and through, for better and for worse. The better is that the gameplay was relatively solid, even kind of fun, as you drove around the battlefield seeking out enemies and blowing them up. The combat was alright, and even with half the screen being a static image and the overused slightly moving lines to indicate movement, I do think it was a good-looking game, especially in the sprite work. As far as simulators go, you could do a whole lot worse. But by that metric, you could also do a whole lot better, and it all comes down to the gameplay. It was fine, but it also had its problems, like how the enemy tanks moved much faster than you, so combat came down to slowly rotate, take a shot, slowly rotate again, take a shot, until they were down. And from the looks of things, the gameplay wasn't going to evolve much beyond adding in slightly different enemies. And yes, it's a simulator, but the sound was so quiet during the driving portions that it kinda made the game forgettable. It's why I resorted to traveling on the map instead, which, credit where it's due, was a great idea that cut down the commute between enemies. This is not a bad game, and if you like simulators or tanks, I think you could get some fun out of this one, but given its issues and my own non-interest, I don't think it's one I'll be coming back to. Sorry, tanks, it's not you, it's me. Oh, Battletech! That's the game I've been confusing it for this whole time. And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe to follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.